Hi, everyone. I want to discuss an issue that I haven't seen raised elsewhere, and it's part of what I would consider the government's smear campaign against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We've heard a lot of discussion about the government's allegation that he's a member of MS-13, even though the Department of Justice raised no evidence before the federal district court on that ground. But there's another aspect that I think is super important because it's different than anything I've seen done before by this administration. The bottom line up front is that the administration appears to have used the intelligence services of the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, to smear the man. Recently, they released a report which they refer to as a bombshell report in their own title, which is super unusual for a government agency ever to do something like that. It seems like it's more about performance, getting the clicks, and getting the media to repeat the word bombshell. In the bombshell report, they also released a press statement by an assistant secretary of DHS. Her name is Tricia McLaughlin, in which she says, quote, "The facts speak for themselves and they reek of human trafficking," end quote. The idea there being that Mr. Abrego Garcia has been involved in human smuggling. So then they release a report. It's also a report you never or hardly ever see released to the public from the Department of Homeland Security's intelligence services. And in the report, just looking at it on its own terms, the facts speaking for themselves, there's nothing there. Here's what it says. In December of 2022, Mr. Abrego Garcia was pulled over by a traffic officer because of a minor traffic violation. The law enforcement agent, in walking up to the vehicle, noticed there were 8 other people in the car and there was no luggage. So he suspected that it might involve human smuggling, and that all of them said they shared the same home address. That is actually about it. You're thinking there's probably more to this story, but there's not. He then gets down all of their names, dates of birth, and their IDs, and he then lets them on their way without even citing Abrego Garcia for a traffic violation. And that's it. That's the end of it. There's nothing more. There's no reeking of human smuggling or human trafficking. It was just the temporary suspicion of a police officer, and then they did nothing further with it, even though they had apparently all the people's information. That's a smear campaign, and it's so unusual in a democracy for the intelligence services to be used for those kinds of purposes. Studying this from political science and comparative law and politics, truly, this is the kind of tactic that you see in a tyranny or a tyrannical government, and also in what are called hybrid regimes, governments that are partially democratic and partially tyrannical. And we're seeing it here. And if they can use it for the intelligence services for this individual, think of who else they can use it for.